Good afternoon. It's great to be in your company. Let's start with this story developing in the last few weeks in the kingdom of Eswatini, where opposition parties in the kingdom have strongly condemned the deportation deal between the United States and calling it, quote unquote, human trafficking disguised as diplomacy. 5 men convicted of serious crimes in the United States were flown into the kingdom last month and are now being held at a high security prison. PUDEMO says the agreement undermines national sovereignty, lacks transparency, and poses risks to public safety, and has vowed to challenge it both legally and through public protest. For more, I'm joined now by PUDEMO leader Mlungisi Makhanya and Bheki Makhubu, who is the Nation magazine editor, both of them joining me. Of course, we did extend to the government of Eswatini, and we will share with you and show you on the screen what the response has been in terms of this deal. But let me start with you, Mr. Makhanya. Just your overall impressions. I saw that the statement came from you that says this is nothing short of you as an organization, that is, this is nothing short of human trafficking disguised as diplomacy. What makes you say that?
Thank you very much, Tulani, and good afternoon to Comrade Bheki there and to all your listeners. Look, the reality here is the Trump administration need to appreciate that the king doesn't have a country. Instead, the country has a king. So what we saw with this development is that individuals, some of them, Tulani, that were not even in prison at the time they were arrested and then deported to Swaziland. We can give the instance of Mosquera Roberto, that were in touch with his family, who completed his prison sentence 15 years ago, but who's among the 5 people who have been deported to Swaziland under the false disguise that they are convicted dangerous criminals. And it is that we are saying one of the things that we must avoid is to legitimize planted lies by the government of the United States of America. We shouldn't forget that no less than 780 individuals were arrested and taken to Guantanamo Bay by the United States of America under the suspicions that they were part of Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. So what we are saying as PUDEMO is that we will refuse and challenge this attempt to turn our country into some Guantanamo Bay, where the United States will take people who are convicted and committed crimes in the United States allegedly and take them to Swaziland without any contribution by the Swazi citizens, including their elected leadership in various sectors of public sphere.
So, Bheki Makhubu, let me bring you into this conversation then. What's your sense of the extent to which this conversation is happening in Eswatini? At the level of the government being, led by the Prime Minister versus it being a conversation that perhaps would engage the authority of the king, as was outlined in the last few minutes by Mr. Makhanya. Is this conversation even happening? Is there any pushback? I think I picked up murmurs here and there, but give us a sense of the extent to which Eswatini are engaged with this matter.
Thank you for having me, and my response would be to say, the government is really abusing us here. They're bringing what they themselves term as hardened criminals into our country. Remember, Eswatini doesn't belong to any individual. It belongs to all of us, equally. No one has got more rights to this country than the other. But what the government is doing is they are behaving like they have the say over how this matter should be handled without any of us participating as people of this country. It's like we don't know we are not intelligent enough to appreciate what is going on, and that they have the say, not even a final say, but a say to the exclusion of all of us in this country, and there's something insulting about that. The arrogance is just breathtaking on how they are behaving and how they're handling this matter. As a result, You know, the had it not been for social media, this matter would probably be dead and buried now, and they just don't see why they should discuss it with us and get a feel of what
Yeah.
how we choose to react to this problem. As a result, there's no information. We're just getting information in bits and pieces from people whispering in corners, and it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, in fact, Mr. Makubu, let me stick with you. I was going to ask you exactly that question. How much detail do we have around the conditions of detention, the plans for when, because it's been framed as almost like a transit point between the United States, these countries of origin where these men are from. How much are we hearing about the plans about when be deported to their home countries, the involvement of international organizations such as the IOM, International Organization on Migration, the cost of keeping people in Eswatini. Do we know any of those details, and are they being communicated openly?
No, they're not. The only thing that the Prime Minister said at a press conference on the Friday following the arrival of these men was that they are in transit, they are going somewhere, I don't know where, but it doesn't make sense because what kind of transit is it where a person leaves the United States to come here only to find that his home is in Jamaica, which is just to the US. I mean, this is like they said. I think the allegation that this is just human trafficking at its worst has traction. We don't know. We're hearing stories that the money has been paid, that the U.S. government has paid Swatini some money, that the money hasn't even government coffers yet. It's being held in some secret account. Nobody is talking to us properly about it. I do know that one of the human rights lawyers in the country has tried to go and see this man, apparently on instruction from his family who have been in touch with him, his state of being, and is being denied access to such a person. That is quite cruel. Let me tell you that. I mean, when you are in jail, particularly, and I can imagine in a foreign country where the environment doesn't even make sense to you because it's unfamiliar, and you can't be visited by someone who wants to see you, it's quite traumatic. So, there's that we're even now starting to abuse these men whom we don't know. And who do we answer to? Because let's face it, what the Americans are doing to people in their country, one day somebody will have to explain what was going on. And watching ourselves in that future where we will be seen as a conduit for America's abuse of people, of human rights, in quite, the most shocking way you can imagine in modern day history.
Yeah. Mr. Makanya, what happens now? What avenues are available? You mentioned that as far as you could do your research, one of these people was actually no longer serving a prison sentence in the United States, which on its own is quite extraordinary. What's the way forward, though, in the coming days, weeks, and months?
Well, the way forward, amongst others, is that we are in touch with the families and we are facilitating legal service for the families to instruct attorneys inside the country to make sure that they are able to take this issue up with our local courts, because we want to understand what due processes were followed both in the United States of America and in our country in terms of facilitating this transfer. But as Mr. Makubu was saying, one of the most annoying things to Lasizwe is the fact that no one understands and know exactly, other than this issue, what else has the king signed our country into. You might have learned that the king, for instance, gave the province of China called Taiwan 500 hectares of our land. And again, we do not understand under what condition was this land given to the Taiwanese. But that as it may be, over and above that, we have written to all these native countries of these 5 deportees to want to understand what consular service and what action are they intending to take, because these are their citizens. But also, we continue to mobilize the ground to make sure that we protest. We will, in the coming weeks, meeting with the leadership of SADC, and we've written to SADC member countries expressing our shock at their deafening silence, because before we know it, the rest of SADC will be sitting with a Swaziland that is agreed on deals and terms that places the security of the entire region at risk. In their own state, they claim that the renditioning of these 5 people promotes mutual interest of Eswatini in the United States of America. What we are not told is that what is this mutual interest that is promoted by taking someone from Jamaica or Cuba and bring them, like Mr. Makubu was saying, 15,000 kilometers under the auspices that they're in transit. So all those are issues that we want to take. But finally, this buttress the point that we've always said that we do not have government in Swaziland. We have royal supremacy. We've got one man who takes decision, and all of us are expected to follow.
All right. I've got to thank both of you for your time this afternoon. That's Mlungisi Makhanya and Bheki Makhubo. Mlungisi Makhanya is PUDEMO leader, and Bheki Makhubo is the Nation magazine editor, weighing in. And just for commission, the countries in question where these 5 men are from are Jamaica, Cuba, Yemen, and Vietnam. And I did say that we will then reflect what the position of the Eswatini government is, because we did reach out to them. They again sent us their statement. I'll read 1 or 2 paragraphs very briefly. And this is from the Tabile Mdluli, who is the acting government person, who says the basis of the agreement is purely the good relations that exist between Eswatini and the United States. Eswatini also has relations with the countries of origin of the deportees. Them coming to Eswatini will benefit the country bilaterally through improved relations of both current and administrations. Deportees, Ms. Mdluli, will benefit in that they will be repatriated home and their relatives will be able to visit them. Already, some countries have reached out to say it is not true that they have rejected them. Hence, the government of Eswatini will expedite repatriation to such countries. So that, in part, is the response of the government of Eswatini to that story.